the highlights of this Conscious Life Expo is really about transmission of the energies of being in an activated field. So I know that's why we're all here, to really feel what's coming through when people are sort of activated like the twin ray. They allow a current to pass through them in order to be communicated out to the field and influence the field in a way that uplifts the energy. So we have a very special presentation today. And this is the year of the dragon, just yesterday.
Yeah.
And so what better time to talk about the initiations by the cosmic dragons and people who immerse themselves in the play of the dragons, in the play of the wild, in the play of the cosmic creation we are moving into as a new planetary species. That's why I really feel the value of these people, of the twin ray, is about how we activate the new human potential. That's why I'm always excited to introduce them, because I really appreciate your cutting edge sort of awareness. That's what, so let's give the twin ray a big, big hand for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother
Thank
Alan.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. It was lovely. Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, blessings, welcome. Today we get to explore the initiations by the cosmic dragon, and how auspicious that we didn't plan this, that it also falls on the Dragon New Year in the lunar calendar. So, how special. And we want to start today with a little story. A beautiful being that was a very significant part of our life. Her name was Grandma, or we called her Grandma G. And she passed just 2 years ago. And she's a very magical being. She had profound gifts, and she was one of the greatest healers that the world will never know. She had the ability to just scan someone without even them saying anything, literally heal them by the time they sat on her couch, and all hosts of things, from autism to stage 4 cancer, with all sorts of things. It was just profound. She was really a walking miracle. And she had many near-death experiences. And she was directly initiated and taught by Babaji, who's known as the Immortal Yogi, who happens to be also my main teacher. And it's interesting because spending a lot of years with Grandma G, the only other person that I have ever met that was very much the same was my beloved wife. And I was joking about this before, and my wife's like, "Yeah, you married your grandma." And I was like, "What?" No, but honestly, she's very similar in the sense of her mystical nature. And she shared this story with us, and it's a very simple story. It's about the dragons. And the story goes, many years ago, the dragons came to this planet, and they shared a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, shared gold, alchemy, shared the teachings of immortality. And they shared this with different lineages, different keepers of different races. And there came a time where the cycle of Earth was shifting, was coming into a dark age, and it was the time that they had to leave. And so they chose, some of them chose to stay, and most of them chose to leave. And it was the time when the planet was changing its density.
It was moving from a much higher density into a lower density, into the density that one now knows as the 3D, is what we would call it or liken it to.
Exactly. And so the Nagas, or the dragons that had remained, they lost their ability to fly. They lost their ability to change dimensions. And the ones that left were destined to return again. And so what's interesting about this story is that we're in this time right now of when the dragons return. But maybe it's a different understanding of what the dragons are, not just as a mythical creature, but also as a cosmic energy that's returning to the energy of the earth. And so what we're going to be exploring today is what that energy is and what these dragons are in the sense of the grid, the new grid that's being established on the planet. And we call this grid the cosmic dragons. And dragons are quite special because they're made up of different aspects of other creatures. And they also represent the alchemy, how alchemy is the multiple stages of transformation. And there's speaking of riding the dragon, which is a Kundalini saying, with when one activates their Kundalini and one activates that powerful Shakti inside them, they ride the dragon, and you have to learn how to master the dragon, and not to power over the dragon, but to actually merge and become one with that power source.
Mm-hmm. Dragons are the keepers of immortality. They are depicted holding, guarding treasures in mythology, because the treasure is truly the treasure that is hidden in plain sight, which is the treasure of the body, which is the power that the body holds and how it alchemizes itself into the expression of that treasure. The guardianship of the dragons began when these particular dragons decided to stay earthbound in order to be great protectors. The Chinese dragons, for example, these particular dragons called the Lungs, they are likened to serpents because they do fly, but they stay closer and are water-based. And what this means is that they work with the alchemy of the waters inside of you. They work with the waters that hold the memory fields of not only your life, but of everything and all of creation, especially related to the earth. And they are seen as the heavenly beings that are benevolent. And in certain cultures, they are prayed to. They are deeply, deeply revered for the love and benevolence that they give and bestow upon the families.
And so it's a stark contrast in Western mythology, where there's these fire-breathing, destructive, chaotic creatures that are depicted in lore of dragons that are more of that chaotic nature. But in the other Eastern traditions of understanding the dragons is that they're actually heavenly beings. And that's how we understand dragons to be, is actually heavenly expressions. But at the same time, when we think of these new lines that are coming onto our planet, they are in the shape of these long sort of serpentine or elongated frequencies that are coming onto the earth, and they're known as emperor or empress dragons. And what was expressed is that every cosmos, every sort of the spiral of creation also represents the dragon. How everything that we see in nature, everything we see in as galaxies, everything we see in the universe are these spirals of creation. And our Milky Way galaxy was birthed out of the Andromeda galaxy. And so what we're seeing is that there's these lines of energy, of highly coherent plasma energy or cosmic energy that's returning to our Earth. And it's bringing a lot of wisdom. It's bringing a lot of mystical experience and union. It's bringing so much more to our planets, but it's also changing the time that we're living in, because we're moving as a species, we're evolving, we're awakening. So we want to outline through this journey, we want to basically outline a little bit of the science. So we've gone into the mythos of the creatures of the dragon. Now we want to dive into more like the cosmic energy and understanding what cycles we're in right now. Then we want to go into a bit of an activation together so we can go into a more of a receptivity and broadcast transmission.
And why did we call this the initiation of the cosmic dragons? Because that's what's happening right now these cosmic waves, which we call the dragon lines, are coming in and initiating the entire planet and all sentient life on the planet right now. And it is an initiation that no one can get out of.
Yes, and we'll outline the stages of those initiations that are universal. These initiations that everyone goes through, and it depends because this information that's coming back to our planet, the frequency is creating a metamorphosis. It's creating a metamorphosis at the genetic level. It's creating a metamorphosis of our own perception of reality, of our perception of ourself, of our perception of what's possible. So we're going to outline each aspect of that. We want to open up also time for questions about what's happening around 2024, because this year is pivotal. It's where a lot of prophecies that we're going to outline have been speaking and pointing to this time in the human journey. 12 years after 2012. So 2012 was a catalyst moment where it's the end of a cycle. Now 12 years later, we're moving into another cycle.
And another cycle of the sun.
Exactly. And so right now, our planet's actually receiving all this information from our sun. So the information that's coming from our sun, the light, the photonic light, the neutrinos that we receive from the sun, it's like the nutrition from the sun. We receive it every single second. It surrounds us. But when we cultivate more of a cohesive container, when we cultivate more our spiritual awareness, we can actually absorb more of this energy into our being and use it for ascension. So this is resulting in a powerful planetary ascension. And what we're seeing right now, 2024 is the year when the sun goes through its flip. What that means is the north and south node of the sun is going to reverse. And this happens every 11, 12 years. And the last time this happened was in 2013. And so this is the year that this happens as well. And before this happens, there's massive chronic ejections where there's solar flares, basically just will keep bombarding the electromagnetic sphere of our Earth.
But what does this mean for the human DNA? What does this mean for us? What does this mean for you?
Yeah, because there's a lot of fear, like the grids are going to get blown. That's a timeline where many have shared what's possible. But when we understand what is the nature of light, if we understand the nature of our sun and the light that emanates from our sun, it's all genetic code. There is no life on our planets without the sun. The very fact that our sun encompasses the earth allows there to be life on this planet. So genetic code is what the sun, the information that the sun is broadcasting.
And of course it would have to be, because it is life-giving. And that is pure genetic code. That is the ability for a flower to grow. That is the ability for anything to be able to receive that light and interface with the sentience of that. So it would have to be genetic code.
So when you understand that all light is genetic code, and when we see species going through extinction, and when we see new species emerging, we understand that it's the environment that's dictating the physical organism that's coming into manifestation. What we understand is that cosmic radiation and cosmic energy actually influences our DNA, and it clears up rogue cells. There's papers that have actually outlines that the free radicals in our system actually get purified. Free radicals go on to create cancerous cells and all sorts of diseases. It actually purifies that from the genetic code. So humanity is going through this powerful purification process. We're receiving this new light, essentially. And our sun is about to go through a flip where the north and south node flip. So that's basically a Kundalini activation that's happening on our sun. Our sun is about to go through a Kundalini activation because it's in a tantric relationship with the earth. And that's about to happen this year.
And the moon.
And so what's interesting is that as we look at the sun, as we understand the cycles of the sun, it's the same process that we go through when we go through an awakening process, because a bioelectric activation of Kundalini is literally when your spine becomes a magnet and the north and south node of that magnet flips, and you experience this powerful energy and surge roll through your body and open up the energy centers, the endocrinology of your body, the chakras, they open up, and then it circles back into the body itself. And so many people have these spontaneous awakenings, but they can't integrate it. So we're seeing that actually happen on a mass scale, where our entire planet is going through this powerful cosmic activation with the sun, going through a Kundalini activation. So this is very interesting, where when we understand how to cultivate this, we can understand how to tap into this energy and use this energy.
In many ways, this is a forced awakening. And so we want to see, by a show of hands, how many people in this room have, would you say, have gone through a forced awakening? Okay. Raise your hands just a little bit higher. There we go. Thank you. Okay. And how many people in this room feel like they've gone through a really gentle, guided awakening?
Very blessed.
Okay. Really blessed. And you know, both are incredibly valuable. Both hold the same ability to teach. But the lessons and how those lessons are received is what is a little bit different. So as this is occurring on the planet right now, and as the sun goes through its polarity flip, that tends to invert morality. It tends to invert one's ability, or a society's ability, to perceive information in the same way it was perceived before and received before. And we see this happening now consistently as the world is polarizing further and further and further. And we could talk about bifurcation, and maybe I'll touch on it for a quick moment. But as everything is polarizing further and further, a mass is splitting in the center, where two sects are being, one is being brought up and into an ascension, and the other one is going through a descension or a destructive model.
And so the whole process of the spiritual journey is to integrate both polarities, is to bring those two aspects into wholeness. And there's a few different aspects of the human organism that have those polarities. The brain, we have the left and right hemisphere. We have the toroidal field that is generated from our hearts. If we cultivate enough energy, we can create a coherent field where we go beyond the biochemistry aspect, but we go into a bioelectric aspect where we actually start tapping into our light body and the powers of our light body. And a lot of the information, a lot of the circuitry on the planets that would help us light up and would help us tap into this powerful energy that basically opens up the capacity to have a coherent field is these grids. And a lot of the grids have been disjointed. So a lot of the work that had been done on this planet is, who has done any grid work before? Any sort of grid work on the earth and understanding the ley lines? The ley lines or the song lines is like going and working and remapping that. So as those grids come into harmony, they create a coherent field. And then when we are in those coherent fields, we become inducted into a coherent field that allows us to sort of come online, or it starts to supercharge our field in a very powerful way.
And we talk about harmony, and we know that that's a word that's used so often, but when we speak of the grids, we are actually speaking of tones that are harmonizing together to create a symphony, to create something so beautiful that blankets everything and everyone. So we're not just talking about energetic harmony, we're talking about harmony like a symphony.
And when we acknowledge that, just as the earth itself has a grid system, we have a biocircuitry system, like our meridians or our nadial pathways, the internal energetic circuitry. When there's blocks in those circuitries, and there's maybe blocks in our field, we see those blocks in our life. They may create emotional wobbles or emotional triggers. They may create certain relationship issues. They may create sort of financial challenges. They may create certain experiences in our life that make us pause for a moment to sort of re-evaluate where we're at on the journey. And that information that's held within inside of us is projected outside of us. So if we can see that our planet itself is coming into a harmonic space where the grids are remapping and our body's getting entrained to those grids, the work that we have inside of us has to come up. The information that has been suppressed inside of us, maybe there's traumas, dramas and stuff, that pain that we have to overcome, that comes up for us to heal. So this purification that's happening on the planet is happening so we actually can use that as the rocket fuel for our ascension. Those shadows, those tendencies that we can use in order for that to be cultivated, for us to lift our vibration and rise to the next octave of our life.
Here's the wonderful news about this, and why we've said that this is the new brain of the earth, is because the new grids, just like your own brain, just like our brains, they have synapses, they fire, they communicate, they talk. There's information that's constantly coming back and forth. And as the old grid is essentially dissolved and the new grid is put in its place, which has in fact occurred, and we'll tell you the date that this happened, then what we tend to see is that this grid, when it starts to fire up, which happens to be at the end of 2024, the solstice of 2024, then it'll be as though the new brain of the earth has been enacted, so that the brains of the sentient life on the planet can start to connect in a much deeper, much more significant, much more activated and divine manner, thus allowing eventually one to use the complete abilities of the brain itself, which clearly, as we know, that has not been the case for humanity for quite some time.
So when we think about the cycles of our own initiations that we experience in life, we can also understand that there are cycles in the cosmos. Like, for example, there's biorhythmic cycles as the sleep and wake state. There's cycles of seasons. There's cycles in our calendar, for example. There's macro cycles where we go in these astrological cycles and we move from different ages. We've just moved from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. There's a 26,000-year cycle, or 25 and 600 years, thereabouts, whereas the precession of the equinox, where we go around each one of those astrological cycles. And so there's cycles within cycles, essentially. And where our planet has been positioned is in this, what's called a galactic current sheet. It's a current sheet of plasmic energy, very supercharged, very coherent, which is creating this cosmic wave, this cosmic radiation that's coming onto our Earth. It's ricocheting off our sun. It's changing the way that the weather patterns are happening on other planets. So the very vibration, every planet has a song. Every vibration that the planet emits creates basically a song. And those frequencies are shifting, adjusting, and have been since this cycle has occurred back in 2017. And our sun and our Earth is going through this process. Now, what's significant about this process is that this year, because the information comes onto our planet, it ricochets off the sun, it ricochets off the crystalline core, the iron nickel core of our Earth's central nucleus, and it vibrates. It creates this vibration wave, like cymatics, that cymatic pulse wave, that geometry. It creates these geometries, and it creates what we call harmony times. And what harmony times mean is that through a period of time, all the grids on our planet, the ley lines, they come into coherence where they sync up and they create these beautiful toroidal fields. And they're harmonized. And when we connect and meditate with them, they harmonize our brain, they harmonize our heart, they harmonize our energetic field, and they allow us to actually manifest, because you can't manifest without magnetism. Magnetism allows you to pull in the reality in which you desire, which you're intending to create. It allows us to heal, because when there's misinformation in our body, it creates issues, it creates dis-eases. So we then learn from that to create those basically healing and wholeness. So there's a lot of benefits physiologically that can happen by being in a coherent field, or creating and sustaining your own coherent field. What's remarkable is in 2024, by the end of this year, we're not going to come in and out of a harmony time. We're going to be completely in a harmony time for the entire 2,000 years. So that means that the grids are all linked and synced and wired together. But what that means is that anyone that hasn't adjusted their brainwave patterning, hasn't done the inner work, all that stuff is going to come up for processing. Yeah. And so this leads to this time of great purification right now. The world that we're experiencing is purifying. There's a lot of dissonance that we can see in the world, on the world stage. And this is a great purification that many prophecies have been speaking about since time immemorial. So this global purification is like a wave of information that we then get to use for transformation. And go back to purification. There's a adjustment with the slides. Okay, forget the slides. There it is. So again, purification leads to transformation. And so this is a part of the initiations that each one of us go through. We must purify our minds, our hearts, our emotions, our beliefs. We must cleanse that lens of perception. And when we do that, inevitably we see not only ourselves transform, but we see a different world around us. And so this information, this energy that's coming onto the planet is very high frequency, and we must adjust that frequency, we must embody that, and start actualizing our potential, because that's the great boons and gifts. As we get out of the shadow, we start embracing the light.
The thing about purification is that purification is the first step, it's the middle step, it's the last step, and it is the end of the process altogether. So purification is something that is consistently going on, no matter what level, no matter what place, no matter what initiation one is going through. And what we're seeing is that the entire world is purifying. All that has been hidden, buried, and covered up must come to the surface, because if not, it can't be purified. And one can't purify what they don't know, what they can't see. And that's what the light is doing right now. It's going deep, it's going far, it's going wide. And it's finding all things that have not been exposed. And it's not about exposing something in a way that makes it bad. It's about exposing something that can bring it more light. And we do that with compassion. We do that because it's our nature. Compassion, kindness, forgiveness, forbearance. These are all virtues. These are all virtues of the human species of a golden age. And as this new brain comes online, guess what else needs to come online? A new heart. A new heart. And with that comes pieces of a lost soul that is also coming in right now for those who are ready to receive it. So it's a full expression of a being, a grand being coming onto the planet, inspiring every one of you, inspiring everything, inspiring the grass to grow. And there's something so powerful and so delicate about this, the tenuous nature of life and existence at the same time. And this is part of purification. Every single person must purify. No one, not one person ever that's been on this planet hasn't had to go through that to some degree. Everyone. And so there's a celebration here. There's a celebration because there is this beautiful light at the end of this tunnel that everybody's been looking towards. And there's this celebration of coming together in unity through all that has been purified, through all that has been learned, through all that has been experienced. And we say, thank you. Thank you for holding me through it. Thank you, Grand Earth, for allowing me to drink from your waters. Thank you for letting me walk on your lands. Thank you for letting me build houses on your body. Things that one doesn't always take into consideration. But how beautiful. So from purification, there is transformation.
And that transformation is, when we receive that purification and we surrender to it, because again, it can be a forced awakening, which many of you have put your hand up and shared that, you've had that forced awakening. And some of you, it's been a slow, steady awakening, a gentle, maybe more of awakening, where it's happened in stages. But ultimately, once you start purifying, cleansing the lens, clearing your perception, clearing the inner emotional body, the physical body, the mental body, all these energetic bodies that we hold full of information, once that information starts coming coherence, we start experiencing that coherency in our life. We start seeing clearly. We start seeing others clearly, not from the way in which they may be acting, but the conditioning that may be causing those actions or those reactions. We start seeing the intelligence in nature. We see the symmetry. We start following the synchronicities. We start seeing all the clues that are being given. These breadcrumbs have been left for us to remember who we are and what we're here for and the mission that we chose and signed up for. And we start seeing a greater vision for this planet. We start seeing a greater vision that has been destined for this planet, that each one of us can contribute to in our own unique way, building alliances, coming together in unity, because we are unified. Therefore, we start unifying together collectively, and we start seeing a collective purpose. And so that transformation that we start embodying, because we're integrating now, we're integrating those activations that we're experiencing, we're integrating the processes that we've gone through.
The wisdom.
Yeah, we're taking knowledge and we're applying that knowledge with action, which allows that to truly become wisdom. Knowledge embodied is wisdom. And then we start actualizing more gifts. And this energy, this powerful energy that's coming onto the planet, it's creating these massive ley lines. These ley lines are creating basically, they're the lines within a toroidal field. If you've ever seen a toroidal field, you sort of see these wavelengths. These wavelengths are these forms of what we call the sort of the grid of the planets. And many beings in ancient time, they would go to pilgrim sites, go to powerful mountains or temples or sacred locations where they would meditate. And as they meditate or they'll go in prayer, they would have revelations. They would actually have these experiences where they get visions. And many prophecies in the past have basically been depicting these visions and these experiences that of a future time, of a future golden age. But before any golden age, there's a mass purification. There's sort of the 11th hour of the dark hour, and there's this new humanity that emerges victorious out of the mud, like the lotus does. And so this is when we look at the similarities between different cultures, there is in all cultures, well, maybe not 100%, but at least 90% of cultures, there's this time of a golden age, this golden era. And cosmically, we have the opportunity to create that, but we must co-create that. We must come together, unify, build alliances, bring our gifts together, and then be led by the synchronicities. There's a reason why you meet the person that happens to have the answer to a question that you've been been looking for, or has the contact to someone that you've been looking to meet with, or there's just these synchronistic, you go beyond this linearity of time of trying to plan your life. It's like life just happens in a flow state, and you get given these clues, and they lead to these next steps. You know, just like why we're all here, there's a reason why we come to receive this information, to receive this transmission, this time. The reason why you're here and incarnated, you signed up for this. And when we remember why we signed up for this, we remember what we have to contribute, then life gets really interesting. It becomes a powerful and a magical carpet ride. And so ultimately, what's this all leading to? It's leading to decentralization, and which is ultimately freedom, because the entire grids that were locked and bound to the earth, they're getting all freed up. There's a new grid emerging. There's a new brain emerging, like we've just outlined. There's a new global consciousness that's sinking in. And so what's coming into the forefront is that there's this need to allow us to see the signs, see the cycles, understand what's happening, and then cultivate that. Stay in a coherent state, because that's purification and transformation and actualization of our gifts and our abilities ultimately leads to realization, realizing who we are and why we came, realizing our true nature as the pure beings that we truly are. And from that realization, liberation is the freedom that we're all seeking. Everyone's seeking that freedom.
So just to reiterate, it's purification that leads to transformation, that leads to actualization, that leads to realization, that leads to liberation.
Many Asians.
So many Asians.
And these are just stages of the alchemical process. Like, we can just see the earth is going through an alchemical process. She's alchemizing, she's harmonizing. There's a lot of things that are coming up. We wanted to share a little bit of a journey that we had in 2017 when we started receiving this information about this new grid that was emerging. The last time this grid emerged was back in Atlantean times,
12,000 years ago.
12,000 years ago. And the reason for that is because as the planet moves through these galactic current sheets, it moves through these cycles, and every time it moves into these corridors, basically of highly charged energy, it creates these waves that then create a new grid system on our planet. Just like if we vibrated a petri dish and we see that water in high frequency, it will start moving in and start self-organizing into a more complex geometric structure. That's exactly what's happening to our Earth. It's exactly what's happening to our cells. So what's happening to the information in our field. And so we went to Egypt actually in 2017, and we did a ritual in the King's Chamber.
Before we go into this, how many people know our story about Egypt?
Because we don't have to share it.
If a lot of people know.
Okay, so only a few. So this is this story is important because it's leading to this year in 2024, and what we experienced in the King's Chamber on the December solstice is that the King's Chamber was originally used for an ascension chamber. There's a Osiris and Isis ritual that uses the sarcophagus to actually activate certain portals that the pyramid is connected to, because it's a power current, basically. It's like a nexus point that brings energies from the grids and then actually is a convergent point to the star grids, because a lot of these convergent points of like the earth lines weren't lining up with the star lines, the star grids. And so one of the places, there's a few other places on the planet, but one of those places that are those points between heaven and earth is the Great Pyramid.
The Giza Plateau.
So in 2017, we took a group of about 50 beautiful luminaries, light workers, way showers, and we were meditating in the sarcophagus, and we were chanting and chanting and chanting, and the limestone blocks were reverberating and just reverberating, shaking. And what we witnessed was a portal literally opened up in the bottom right-hand corner.
It wasn't just chanting, it was that a frequency field opened a key to something that was beyond the scope of limestone. So it opened up something that transformed it to be much more malleable in that moment.
Yes, and keep a long story short, basically from that experience, we saw a vision of this earth, and this information came out of that portal. It was like a light that came in and started to show this capstone, basically, of what was missing on top of the plateau of the pyramids. And inside that had a new genetic potential for our human species. And it showed that there's this new golden age emerging. And there was, ultra-terrestrial beings on the other side of that portal that we saw. We literally saw this in a very physical sense, just how we're experiencing each other now. And again, keeping a long story short, the point of this was that vision of what was happening in that moment, that there's a new grid, there's a new genetic code returning to the planets. 6 months later, we started actually connecting with a geobiologist, and he started sharing, because he asked what we've been tracking, and we shared what we'd been tracking, what we've seen. And he shared that he'd been tracking as well, that there's this new grid that's come on the Earth. And so since then, we've been traveling to many different sacred sites.
We had been traveling to sacred sites doing this work for decades before this.
In truth, yes. But specifically knowing about these ley lines, because it's like this new grid emerging on the planet, it's important to make sure that they're intersecting, they're aligning, they're basically creating coherency. So doing earth healing, what we feel is a powerful dharmic service, is that when you can heal the earth, it starts healing and liberating the people that are living in the vicinities of that land. So what we were shown is that was the start of this energy coming onto the planet. And it was going to take 7 years for the energy to lock into place. And that leads us to the end of 2024, this year, that these new grids are going to be locking into place to create a new container for, just like a new cocoon, for the caterpillar to find its wings, emerge its wings, go through the metamorphosis process. So that's literally locking in at the end of this year. And what we know is by going to these places or connecting to the information of these locations, you pick up that signature. And so anytime you have an activation, you go somewhere or you've received something or you've healed something, you hold this sort of code in your field that then you can transmit to others. You don't have to speak about it, you don't have to talk about it, but it's just held in your field. That's why when you're in a very activating room or you meet someone, it can transfer information to you. And it's sort of like a Ziploc file that it sometimes unlocks slowly over a period of time, or it can unlock very quickly. And so we want to do an activation together where we can just, the places that we've been to, we want to send that frequency out into the field and create a coherent field together where instead of you needing to go to these locations, we can sit together and actually receive that transmission and energy so you can hold it in your field and feel actually what's coming through for this year of 2024 and what's happening beyond.
How many people know what the Schumann resonance is? Great. Yes, you wanted to ask?
The question was already a long time from the beginning there. Like, how can we cope in an easy way with all that is now happening with the Schumann resonance?
Beautiful question, Julie. I'm going to share a little bit about, and again, Schumann resonance is as simple as the heartbeat of the earth. The way in which the earth beats the frequency in which is a match right now to the consciousness of the planet. And as we know, the Schumann resonance in a golden age is quite different and will be quite different. And we actually had a very small, I believe it was a 48-hour window of time where this changed. And does everybody remember the spike in the Schumann resonance? Does anyone know about that, other than those who were with us on our journey? Okay, so you want to share a little bit of that?
Go for it.
So one of the main things that, even though we had been doing grid work for a long time and doing a different kind of grid work, when we started to really track and learn the science of the grids, the science of the lines with precision, the kind of work that we were doing on the earth and for humanity started to change. And one of the places that is one of the most important places in the world right now as a power site, we needed to go and repair. And we had known about this for several years. And we knew that there was a window of time and an exact date that we would need to go. So we created a beautiful retreat for our dear students and community to come to, and we traveled to Peru. And this was just how many months ago?
June
June.
in 23.
So what happened?
I'm going to give the short story because I want to get to the point.
I know, I would give the long one.
We can get the activation and then we can answer questions. But there's this, basically, we went there because when you start working with the grids, you can start moving and realigning them to balance them. And so in Peru, there's something what's called a supernode. There's 2 on the planet. There's one that's not available because it's in the ocean, and there's one on the landmass. And what they basically mean is where there's 6 converging points of what we call these the reason why we call them dragons as well, cosmic dragons, is because the other categories are called serpentine lines, the serpent lines, the snake lines, because they're in snakes. But the dragons, they can fly, so they're in higher dimensions. They come from more the star grids. They actually map the star grids into the Earth. Mm-hmm. So they're coming from a higher power source beyond our planets. Each one of the different grids of our planet, there's electromagnetic grids, there's grids that are coming from the energy just from the sun, the Birkeland currents from the connection to our sun and the Earth, and then there's energy that's off planets and from the sort of the supercluster known as Laniakea. That's where a lot of this energy is, very cosmic, and as they start forming on the planet, they create these nodal sections where they intersect. And so in Peru, they weren't mapped in the correct formation. So as we moved them, and we worked with teams as well and many, not just our own community, but others around the world that were working at the same time doing this, that exact time is when we saw a spike in the Schumann resonance, and the actual image of the Schumann resonance for the first time showed the very geometric symbology of braiding that the grid actually had done on the Earth, which was really interesting, because we have to understand that the frequency of our planets, the Schumann resonance of our planet, is influenced by these cosmic waves. And so but normally you just see like the Schumann resonance just show this sort of line graph. Mm-hmm. But this actually showed like a 3rd-dimensional imagery of a genetic code happening on the very day that we did this grid work. I wish we had an image to show you about that. Maybe we'll get one and put it on the screen.
You have it somewhere.
Try to find that. But anyway, this was off script because we weren't even going to talk about this. But basically,
that's true.
What this shows is that there is this new information. There's this new symmetry that's happening to the pulse of our Earth. There's this, and we're seeing that the grids of the Earth represents exactly what's happening to our own internal grids and our pulsation that we all follow through our own heart, which is connecting to the Earth as well. So there's this upgrade, essentially, what's happening. So this was called an Ascension Codex that basically came onto the planet in June. And what's interesting is because there's this prophecy in Peru called the Quero prophecy, and they call it the time of the Mastay, and it talks about 12 different healers, the Malku basically, which are the high priests, and the high priestess. 12 of them come together. And when they come together, they forge an alliance. And that alliance is when the eagle and the condor merge as one. Who's heard about the eagle and the condor prophecy? Yeah, the ancient indigenous prophecy. And so this prophecy was spoken of at the time of the Mastei, the very first introduction of this prophecy. But when we understand that these beings, whether they're human or they're energies that are coming onto the planets, that supernode is 12 lines of energy merging into one point, one focal point.
And what's really interesting and amazing is it is the exact, when we arrived, it was the exact day and year of the prophecy. And we had planned all of this, but didn't know that at the exact time.
Yeah, now there's many expressions of the sacredness of this prophecy unifying basically the entire Americas. And many amazing indigenous elders are dedicated and have dedicated their entire life, like Chief Phil Lane, for example, has dedicated his entire life to...
Well done.
Yeah, so this is what happened to the Schumann resonance on the same day that the grid work happened.
And so what was so interesting, and this room is probably the only room of people that know this, is that there was talk about this all over the world. Scientists everywhere were going, what just happened to the Schumann resonance? Unprecedented. And it was because we moved a massive, massive line and lines to their rightful node, and it went. So now you know why.
And and many beings were a part of this, seen and unseen. This is
Oh, so many unseen.
yes. So this is a collective legions work, and many of you, in your higher self forms, are a part of doing all this work. So we applaud you as well. So this just shows that what's happening is very powerful, and it's catalyzing this incredible transformation inside of each one of us. And we're going to see more of this activity, more unpresidential aspects that are coming through. Presidential or presidented. but meaning that
we make up words.
Well, yeah, we do. Our own lexicon. So what's happening is that we're moving into this sort of uncharted territory. And we have to come together into more of a unity to be able to create more coherence out of this information, this energy that's being provided to us. And so let's do that now. Let's, instead of just talking intellectually about it and doing a transmission, let's go into that now, because what our intention is to share that frequency, share the different energy that has been collected. And many of you also hold different codes in your field from different sacred sites that you've journeyed to, from different work that you've accomplished inside yourself as well. So this is a beautiful opportunity to expand that energy and also receive and then transmit. And then we'll speak about planetary ascension. Okay. So who would like to do this first and foremost? Everyone? Yes? Okay, let's do it. All right, just move your neck.
We're going to open some things up now.
Yeah, in spirit of the cosmic dragon year. So let's close our eyes and bring our attention inwardly. Softening our neck, our jaw, our shoulders. Breathing into the center of our hearts. And feeling the pulse of our hearts, feeling its vibration, our own soul signature, the resonance that's inside of us, beating life, giving gratitude to our holy hearts that are whole and complete and perfect, filled with love and the light that we truly are. If we yawn, we're cleansing. Yawning is cleansing, so embrace the yawns. And just breathing in more light into our hearts, and we call in more light. Consciously call in more light into your heart to expand the field of your heart, to tap into the intelligence, the inherent knowing of who you truly are deep within your sacred heart. And put your hand on your heart if you want, just to feel, so you can be more focused on that central point right inside you, the access of your heart
Mundi.
that connects and gives you access to all the wisdom that you are. And take a deep breath in, and on the breath out, breathe down to the earth, down to the earth's central core, her heart. Connect into her magnetic field, the crystalline core. And bring your attention deep down into the earth mother, Mother Gaia. Giving our affection, our appreciation, our gratitude, our love, all that we have experienced in this world, all that we've experienced in this life is because of her unconditional love, of allowing this incarnation. Connecting, that gratitude links and wires that magnetic field. First you're connecting your field, and now your intention is to connect to the greater field of earth. And open yourself up. Open yourself up to more love. Open yourself up. Breathe deeper. Fill yourself with life force. Opening to the wave of cosmic energy.
We're going to come around and start to bring in a vortex. And once you feel the vortex, you might start rotating your body. You might start to feel yourself. Yeah. Moving, just like a vortex does.
And keep breathing. And breathe up on the next in-breath, breathing in from the crystalline core of the earth back into the center of your heart, the inner vortex of your heart.
Spiraling.
Watching the spiral of light.
Spiraling.
Just opening up. See, sense, and perceive. Allowing yourself to connect in and plug in.
Feeling the ascending spiral. And again, when you start to really feel it, you might start to spiral your own body to open further, to experience and imprint the ascending spiral within you.
Now bring your hands up, bringing light into your hands just above your crown, just holding them just above your crown. And just feel the energy streaming into your crown. Just feel it. And calling in greater pulsations of light streaming down, opening up your crown, just like a lotus opening up with all its petals, allowing your crown to open up and drink in the light, the life force, down through the crown into your heart and down into the earth and back up again. Just visualizing the sun above your head, allowing yourself to become a powerful cosmic magnet, receiving information down. When your hands get a little bit tired, bring them back to your lap or to your heart, whatever feels comfortable, but
Or
just
keep
bringing that
them up.
information, bring it in. And spirits of the great year of the Yang wooden dragon, the Azure dragon, We call forth the cosmic dragons, information, the keepers of immortality, of the great hidden treasures, keepers of the golden age. And calling in to receive, receive, receive what you're ready to receive, what you're open to receive, opening up the spiral, allowing that to come through your body. Feel the energy move through your body, unlocking your body, opening up your body, freeing aspects within, tuning in.
And now we're going to raise the frequency more, experiencing a quickening happening inside of you, raising the frequency even more. Body starts to pulsate.
Keep breathing, breathe in
Keep
deeply.
breathing.
Oxygenating your blood, oxygenating your brain, allowing the biochemistry to become bioelectric, opening up the field, opening up the life force, calling in, being a magnet of light, and radiating your light, sending your light, pulsating your light, becoming more light than matter. Breathing in.
Quickening.
Allow your heart to open even more, your crown even more, your field even more, opening, 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 up, up, up. Allow yourself to hum and feel that vibration coming through your cells. breath. Feel the pulsation, the wave coming into the 0 point of your heart, sealing, connecting, integrating. Just feel the stillness.
Feel the emptiness.
Feel the peace and all the pieces uniting back to the one. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace,
Peace.
peace. Let there be peace. And may all the beings in all the worlds find everlasting peace and happiness. So wiggling your toes, your fingers, coming back to the body, allowing yourself to integrate, anchoring again into the body as it is a temple of the many jewels. Maybe tapping your heart, rubbing your belly, whatever's needed just to make sure you can sink back into the grids of your body, coming from a very expanded state. Just so this planetary ascension that we're all riding together is also a biological ascension. It's ascension in the frequency of our cells, the frequency that we're emitting. And so we want to pass the talking stick around and open up the floor for any questions about this ascension, about what's happening on this place we call home.
I went swimming in the ocean.
That talking stick doesn't have a microphone. Hold it up so everyone can see.
It's lovely.
Powerful. It's both.
Mm.
And so that's the planetary ascension, the sacred union of the divine feminine, both hemispheres of the heart, the wholeness of our hearts becoming one with the wholeness of our brain, charging our field. And so if there's any questions about what you want to learn about this time right now that we're living in, and ultimately anything that's needed to help equip you with this time that we're all living in, is that we want to open up the floor to be of service to you as well. Okay.
Hi, thank you. My question is actually regarding what you were talking about earlier. Could you speak more on how the south and north node are shifting?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
How the sort
Like you
Of
said
the-
that
of the
they're
sun?
Of the
reversing?
sun.
yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Thank
So,
you.
yes. So the north and south node of, if we think of everything as a torus, it's like a vortex. Every cell of our body, from the microcosm all the way to the macrocosm, and the north and south point of the sun, every 11 to 12 years, they go back into the 0 point of that torus, and then they rotate out again. And so that process is just the process of electromagnetism. All that we see and perceive in our world, of what we experience as a physical reality, is just a play of electromagnetism. And so everything is based on those north and south poles of electromagnetism. So I'm not qualified enough to give you the scientific definition, but I'll give you the spiritual definition, which is what happens when it comes to this time where the sun reverses its grid. It creates, our Earth goes through the same process, but it happens more like thousands to hundreds of thousands of years. But we've gone through like what's called a micro reversal, where our north and our south pole have already started to rotate and incline. And what happens spiritually, as the sun represents the perfect demonstration of how we reach those pinnacle states of illumination, of self-illumination, is that when the information from the field comes through our spine, comes through our spinal column, comes through our pranic tube, as that happens, the cerebral spinal fluid in our body, in our spine, in our brain, it gets supercharged, it gets this ionic charge, and it creates this incredible vibratory pressure that hits our pineal gland and other glands of our endocrinology, and the crystals, the piezo crystals, these pressurized crystals in our nervous system and in our pineal gland start opening up and creates this phosphorescence and starts up-regulating our biochemistry to become more this bioelectric magnetism that happens in our field. So we start expanding our field. So when this happens, this is like this expansion point the sun's going through to release all this powerful plasma energy and this powerful photonic light. And as we're receiving that, we're going to go through an internal process of that as well, to whatever capacity we can. And what that does is brings us more illumination, more insight, more wisdom, more connection. Because when we go into that superconscious state, we start seeing that we are actually more unity than any type of diversity. And so what we see is that that cycle is also the same cycle that we have with Jupiter. Every 12 years, Jupiter goes through the entire zodiac. And Jupiter represents the teacher of our spirituality, the external spirituality, the journey that we go through. And Saturn goes through that cycle every 27 to 30 years, which is our inner spiritual teacher, so the disciplinary aspect. So when we see these cycles that the planets go through, these intelligent celestial masses that are vibrating this frequency, as that comes down to us, we are these archetypes playing those frequencies out. And these cycles, what it teaches us is actually to come back home, come back to ourself. And this 12,000 year cycle that we're seeing with the grids, a micro expression of that is the 12 years that our sun goes through, where we flip. And what that flipping represents is freeing. Because genetically, when we go through a powerful process that's spiritually activating, the information that's mapped around our DNA, what's called sort of the samskaras, the information, that gets released. So when something flips, it removes all the information out of it and it frees it, so it's healing. So our organs also go through these pole shifts as well. And each one of our organs represent each one of the planets that go through this process. So we are literally this temple of the cosmos. And so as we are reversing the information, we're integrating at the same time. And we're bringing both of those masculine and feminine qualities into complete wholeness. So that's a long sort of example or explanation, but the short would be it's union that's happening with our sun and our earth coming together in union. And when that happens, we receive more life force to give more life onto our earth.
June.
Yes.
So I have actually a quick question.
Oh,
We have
the
someone with a
microphone
microphone.
is over.
And you can be next.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So my question is, I'm so grateful for this envisioning of that new earth and where we're moving towards the integration of the masculine and feminine within, specific to activating what you just described of like the organ systems and the kundalini and the pineal gland. And I want to really envision that in my daily life. And I'm wondering if you
Yes.
could help me to envision what that would look like for the new human in this new environment and in the macrocosm as well, like what society, how we'll interact with each other when we fully integrated that masculine, feminine within. I want to see myself and all of us like in the daily practice of what that will feel and look like. If you would join me in that.
Yeah. Beautiful
Absolutely, and thank you. We actually this leads really perfectly into the wisdom class that we've created a wisdom class that I believe, yes, is on your chairs, that leads into exactly that practice, incredible sadhana, soul sadhana, that helps people with the training ground of the earth. The earth is a training ground for the soul to what? To purify, to embody, to transcend. And so I would definitely say it's free. And just take it. And we really talk about, we touch on immortality, we touch on things that we're really passionate and what we're actually really here to teach when we feel enough people are really ready to want to open up to the true potential of the infinite nature of the body, because the wisdom, the treasures are truly infinite.
And when we think about the practicality of different areas of our life, we could basically bring them into sort of four aspects. We've got our relationship life, all of our relationships in the world, and also that includes our love and our emotional experience, our physical life, our physical reality, and also success and career, of what our vocation is, of what we want to share with the world and our gifts in that way, and our spiritual life. So if we see those four aspects, when we create a very strong foundation, a strong sadhana means sacred practice, then life happens more through you, and to a point where it happens as you, where you see the intricate connection that everyone truly is connected. And that then reflects on the inspiration, the creative exploration and expression of that with every system, whether it's a financial system. We get to dream a new dream. And this is already happening. It's about aligning us with the right coherent containers and communities that are creating change. And so on a daily to day level, on the what we speak about is making the mundane magic. So allowing life to be more ritualized. And when you see the magic in the moments of each part of the moment, whether it's waking up with the sun, waking up with breath, waking up with gratitude, whether it's just making your bed and making sure that your space is tidy and the feng shui is aligned, and the currents of life are also expressed in your environment, preparing your food, whether it's going to be of service, whatever capacity that it is. We're all here to be in service. So the practicality of this is that you come into a greater alignment internally, and then you allow life to show you what your next steps are. And just ask for the synchronicities, call them in. And there's this wellspring of creative input that's happening right now, with we can reimagine all these new systems that we can offer. And each one of us have a different level of what we can contribute.
Mm-hmm. Last question, because we have 1 minute left.
I have two questions, actually. One is the one of the Schumann resonance and how we can more easily work with it.
Yes.
and feel that when the wave is coming up, that we have a tool to...
Mm-hmm.
So the practice that we did, going down and anchoring into the earth, just connecting and going down and anchoring and spending time in nature with your bare feet, spending time on the dewdrops as well. So when in the morning, when you go onto grass, before the sun comes, there's all this negative ions on the grass. And these little dewdrops of information, it's like it's holding this charge. If you put your feet, it would be freezing cold, but it's life-giving. And then anchor and ground into the earth. That can bring a lot of life force into you, but also regulate you. So you can ask to actually regulate yourself. Just ask with your intention. She's listening always. The field is full of that coherency that will take your request and put it into reality. So call it in and then ground yourself into the earth and feel that connection.
Okay, thank you.
And your womb, I would suggest.
Definitely your womb. dancing for you, Julie, in particular, is such an opening for you. And so feel the heart. Whenever you're doing anything of any practice, feel your heart, because your heart, again, is that electromagnetic connection that opens up to all magnetism. And that magnetism is what is connecting deeper into the heart of the earth. And that opens to your greater feminine presence, your softening. The more you soften, the more you're able to open, the more you're able to receive. So for now, that's what we say for this 1 minute.
Super.
Thank you. You're welcome, beloveds. So we close this with gratitude. We close this with so much love. May the initiation of the cosmic dragons feed your inspiration.
And
we have something else.
we also want to ask a question. We may be cancelling tomorrow's workshop, so who's interested in going to tomorrow's workshop?
Who can go?
Who can go?
It's not so much who's interested, but who can go.
Because the title of it is Raise Your Cosmic Vibration. And we're going to spend a time just going through all the practical aspects of what we're going to be doing.
And answering personal questions.
And just having personal time together. So that's the intent for tomorrow. But we do have another calling to get back to sooner. So
we just wanted to
want to
feel.
know and feel from you, because we're here in service to you. So if you just a show of hands who would like to come.
Okay.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you, beloved.
Okay. Perfect. And last thing is that yes, just if you want some support with the different 4 aspects that we shared, this is just a free offering as well to give you. And we just created a new website. It has this very interesting scroll feature that you can actually see the ascension process in real time. You get to scroll through it, and the body turns to light. So I'd like to get your feedback and explore that on our new website. But
we love you.
We love you.
And we thank you so much. May your heart fill with gratitude in everything that you do. And remember that gratitude is the doorway, it is the lock, and it is the key.
Yes.
Blessed be, beloved.
Blessed be.
Thank you, Claudia. You can take the microphone. Yes. Oh, that's such a good question.
How do you get
old
them?
are they?
3, 4, and 8. One seems to know already. My 4-year-old, and I knew nothing about this, but she was like, "Mom, the world's changing." And she's like, her attitude's changing. I'm like,
And she's 4.
she's 4. She came into this world like I swear, like an extraterrestrial. She would look at people talking. She's like, I know I'm going somewhere, or I know what they're talking about. So we call her like she's something else.
That's wonderful.
But I serve Hape and Sananda for the Quintanala tribe in Brazil. And so my 8-year-old has actually served my husband. She's all like, "You're on an ocean with mommy." So it's funny, like I was told that my calling was to have the children, and then the children, as I start to heal, they'll start to heal. But like, is there a way to like, I notice that like their anxiousness is getting full throttle, especially my littlest when he's 3, but he's a boy, and he's just like everywhere, like everything is bothering him, and he's never been like that.
Okay, so we would say, I don't know why I was going to do this, but we would say energetically cut them out of the collective mind.
The collective field.
The collective field. Because it's the collective field that is ramping up. It's the collective field that is in chaos right now. So trying to keep your children
Like under me.
under you, and make sure that you're also kind of cut and severed from that, so that the greater aspects of you can come in with ease and grace, and that can help protect your children and allow them to also come in through the slipstream of moving into the golden age and not be concerned or aware of what they
My
don't
name
need
is
to be
Gene
aware of.
Marcus.
Oh, blessings.
Thank you, and I live here in Los Angeles. And I have a private, nonprofit religious organization. It's called Universal
that.
Heart Healing Mission. I founded that in April 2006. I know that as what we go through, what we have to go through and get to the other side, and everything becomes gold back. My organization is a private organization of other nonprofits because we're doing humanitarian funding. So it's going to be excessive, not excessive, it's going to be abundance in terms of funding. And I'm already hooked up. We got the information because I'll be able, like you and other organizations, to help our planet people to greatly support you on the financial level because we do grants. Grants is here, you got this, that. And I'm going to put you guys at the top of the list. There's no question about that.
Thank you so much.
You're going to sit your children down all in one.
She's got my information. I'm Gene.
And if you can just see,
And to get to meet you this way.
nice to
Thank
meet you,
so much.
Gene.
Thank you.
If one is not with me right now, do I wait till all of them are with me?
Yes, wait till all of them are with you so that you can work with this,
Yes,
this group
we
container
we
together.
appreciate the light in
And
your
then-
eyes,
and
the
then
light in your
cut-
hearts, and the
thank you.
generosity.
Cut the
Thank you so
energy.
much.
Call in,
We'll dive
I
deeper
would
into
say
like what we're
Archangel
creating.
Michael,
We have
if you
a
work-
beautiful
yeah.
master
Call in
blueprint
Mikhail
of
and
like
just ask Mikhail to
for our
sever the
sanctuary and
connection
the attention
that
of,
is
of what
safe
it's doing
for them.
That's wonderful.
From
There are a lot of
the
intentional communities
unconscious
around the
collective.
world. There's organizations of them, so I'm
Collective
going to create
mind.
a master fund
Yes,
up here
and
so
that
it
should really help
filters
you.
down to everyone.
Beautiful.
But something like you, whatever the vision is, it's already done. It's
Amazing.
just- I think I'm the middleman. It's all from our creator, so it's not for me, but I'm the conduit.
Place perfectly where you need to
I'm
be.
the guy in the middle. So thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And
you
I'm
too,
Gene
Gene.
Marcus.
Yes.
I live here in Venice, Los Angeles. And
Wonderful.
so they have my information and my organization. You probably didn't hear it, but it's a private
a religious,
nonprofit
nonprofit organization.
Yes, it's called Universal Heart.
I hear lots
Healing
of stuff.
Mission. Oh, you heard it. Okay, great. So even though it's focused on natural medicine becoming more prevalent, okay, that's my first institute is that.
We should get some samples of bioceuticals. Have you seen the bioceuticals?
Been to the booth yet?
Yes. But I've been to booths at samples.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
They're hooking me up.
Yes.
Hook you up. That's wonderful, Gene.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I said that's wonderful,
Oh,
Gene.
thank you.
Yes, of course.
So we will be in touch, and I want to thank you for your time. It's really an honor to meet you and be here with you.
Thank you so much. You as well. Okay.
Blessings, Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
I don't know what to say, but just thank you so much. I just really enjoyed your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for what you're doing.
Ah.
I don't know what else to say.
Well, thank you for joining and
Thank you
supporting.
for being here and for joining us.
And I'm inspired just because of you two to come to see you tomorrow.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Yeah, at
We'll,
5.
we'll see if we're going to continue. We have to determine. We have some things that we have to take care of back at the sanctuary.
But
But
we definitely create something anyway. Whether it's,
but you have everything that you need to keep in touch with us. Yes.
I got my card off the chair. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa.
I hope it works out.
Yes.
perfect. Thank you. So there was someone that came in halfway through and took a picture of us. Yeah, that's
Was never good.
No. Okay, this is their back. There's 4 people there now.
she's the one.
Was it she?
I believe so.
I thought that.
Can't do much about it.
Deepak told me that the photos aren't even real. They're not. They're illusions. We'll exit out this door here.
information. Are you